Y volviendo mientras you're going to learn to ensure our security in Muhammad.
How's it?
Subpoena.
If tech is redrawing. If Texas redrawing their congressional map would get you 5 safe red seats, means that California, New York, Illinois, and Maryland are all going to redraw their maps to add safe.
Well, they'll do it anyway.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, they'll do it anyway. Why? If we stop over there, they would have done it anyway. Look, a lot of these states, you know, I watched this morning as Democrats are complaining, and they're complaining from states where they've done it, like in Illinois, like in Massachusetts. I watched this lunatic, Pocahontas. She's a total lunatic. I don't know what she's on. She's all jumping up and down like I've never seen anything like it, talking about supporting the communist mayor. And he's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist. If you look at any of his policies and go back 6 months, you don't even have to go back further than that. So they want to put a communist in New York. Now, the good news is we have a lot of power over that because we're the ones with the money. We send the money. We don't send the money. It's up to the White House, a lot of power in the White House. But when I watched her jumping up and down, talking about that and supporting the communists, but if you look at what's going on with the redistricting or whatever you want to call it, the Democrats have done it long before we started. They've done it all over the place. They did it in New York. They did it in a lot of different states. But in Massachusetts, so somebody used this as an example today. I was interviewed this morning, and they said, you know, it's pretty unfair. Trump got 40%. I'm not proud of that, but I think I probably got more, but that's okay. I got 40% in Massachusetts, and yet they have 100% of the vote in terms of Congress. So there's no Republican, there's no anything. So we should have 40%. You know why? They redistricted, and they've done it all over the place. And they've done it in California, by the way. Before this, they've done it in California. So we'll see what happens. We have a wonderful governor in Texas. He feels strongly about it. It's going to be up to him. I think there's tremendous support for it. And, you know, we've watched the Democrats destroy our country in 4 years. They've destroyed, between their open borders that we talked about, transgender for everybody, all of the horrible things that they've done, high taxes, horrible medical provision for people. We've watched them destroy our country for 4 years, and people don't want that. And people in Texas, as you saw, I got the highest vote in the history of Texas. I love Texas. Texas likes me, obviously, but I got the highest vote, and that was checked out on the show. Did you see that, where they checked it out? They said he actually did get the highest vote in the history of Texas, which disappointed them. They were very disappointed to hear that. But Texas is a place that's done very well with a free enterprise kind of an attitude, with the exact opposite of what's happening in New York with a communist mayor. And they know what they're doing, and they're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Good morning, Patriots. How you doing today? This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from the downtown metropolis of Lamont, Missouri. Those little AI baby TikTok things are kind of funny. And, you know, I just thought you'd enjoy it. Anyways, let's move on. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it, as always. And the word of the day, as given by the Lord, brought to you by Marine in the Woods, is Romans 3, 9 through 19. That's Romans 3, 9 through 19. Make sure you crack open the Bible, see what God has for you today. Make sure before you read the Bible, you humble yourself before God and ask the Holy Spirit to interpret the meaning of the words. Because like the eunuch in Acts who said, how can I understand it if no one tells me? Well, that's what you have the Holy Spirit for, is to tell you. You should follow church doctrine. You know, church doctrine is fine. I go to a Baptist church and their doctrine is fine. But doctrine is made by man, not by God. And in most cases, it's 99% right. I mean, I agree with most of what the Baptists say. I do. But there are points where we don't agree. And it's like my brownie analogy. If I break you I whip up the batter for a beautiful plate of brownies. The brownies are my favorite, by the way. And I go out to the yard and I take a toothpick and I just stick that toothpick in that dog poop. And I come inside with just that little toothpick, little tiny bit, and I smear that all in them brownies. Who's going to share the brownies with me? Just saying. So doctrines of man, I don't follow. Well, they're almost always right. Almost. I trust in the Lord and what the Lord's telling me. That's what I do. And I do try to walk in where God has called me, because that's what other choice do I have? Oh, but I'm not called to be a preacher or a teacher or an evangelist. That's not what I'm called to do. I'm called to stir the bucket and see what floats. All right. So gold Gold right now is trading at $34.80. Silver's at $38.50 right now. But over the evening time, gold has shot through the roof above 35. Yes, it did. And why? Why did it happen? Well, there's a reason for it. There's definitely a reason. Let's see here if I can find the post. Oh, maybe I got rid of the post. I wrote it down. Well, how? Oh, you got to be smarter than the piece of machinery you're operating. That's part of the problem. Here it is. Wow. This is according to Reuters. Can't figure out how to push buttons this morning. It says U.S. gold futures jump to an all-time high of $3,534.10 because the U.S. Puts tariffs on 1 kilogram gold bars. That's why spot gold went through the roof. So spot gold was little changed at $33.99 per ounce at 9:35 GMT. Bullion is on track for a second straight week gain. So, but then the future spot price ballooned more than $100 after Financial Times reported that the United States imposed tariffs on 1 kilogram gold bars, citing a July 31 Customs and Border Protection letter. The letter said that the 1 kilogram and 100 ounce gold bars should be classified under custom code subject to higher duties, and the newspaper said could weigh heavily on Switzerland, the world's largest refining hub. Futures spot spread last saw similar widening during the COVID-19 2020, when disruptions and to the transatlantic bullion supply chain triggered a comparable dislocation. They're talking about the difference between spot and actual buy price. So the gold price shot through the roof last night, and it settled back down a little bit. Like I said, it's trading at $34.85 right now as we speak, and silver's at $38.90, $4.95. So that's kind of interesting to see where that goes. Jacob's Cave is coming up again here in October. Do I have to reset the price on my gold? It might be the last Jacob's Cave for me too. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think God's sending me in a different direction. So we'll see. We will see. Let's get started with the show today. We're talking about the gold, and also the other thing that's really happening in the news right now is the census. Oh, I forgot this one. July 2025, Tulsi Gabbard, Employee of the Month. Yes, she's definitely doing her job and getting out there, and the fallout has been glorious, and it's getting worse. And it's getting much, much worse. I'm not finding the one that I want. Oh, okay. All right. I got it right here. All right. So here's Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, and they're talking about redistricting in the census and stuff.
State. Well, California would lose like 5 seats if they did a fair census. And even beyond that, the Biden census gypped Florida of at least 1 seat. We only got 1 seat in the last census. Are you trying to tell me that Florida only had 1 seat in that? We should have had at least 2. Texas should have had another one. That could be the difference in the House of Representatives and the majority. So I would love for them to redo the census for 26. My legislature will redistrict those lines. We'll get it to where it's fair. But as it's right now, this country is not fairly apportioned. I've got so many more millions of people in Florida that have representation because of that flawed census.
Mr. President, I think it's going to do very well.
lot of people, I don't know if you've heard about it. It's like, it's captivated the country. Everybody wants it.
So they're really starting to push the census thing. And part of it is that just like figures don't lie, but liars figure, there was some anomalies in the last census where states like Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas all got undercounted, where states like New Jersey, New York, Minnesota, and Illinois all got overcounted. And then after the census, after the election of 2020, they said, oh, gee, we might have messed that up a little bit. Golly gee willikers, golly gee. You know, standard. It's what they do. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. They went in and just slightly undercounted. It's no big deal, though. Nobody noticed. But it did, because it, like Ron DeSantis was saying, they should have got a couple more seats out of that census, but they didn't. I mean, everything that these people do is absolute frauds. It's just fraud all the way around. There's a lot of stuff breaking today. Let's see. Where are we? Okay. Just want to stick on the census theme. There's other stuff that is wanting me to talk about. We'll talk about it. I'll get to it. Give me a minute. We're going to stick to the census stuff. Oh, well, did you see this one? Did y'all see this one? Nancy Pelosi. She's standing out here. I don't know what she should have turned around and faced the other way. The wind is not doing her hair any favors. But she's asked about turning kids trans.
How is your office responding to the pauses in gender affirming care here in California?
Well, that is something that I'm working for at the national level, and we have, how can I say, are hoping that we can have gender affirming care for our trans kids, and that it's a sad thing for us. I'm not totally. I don't know what effect we can have nationally with what we have going on in the White House and in the Congress. It's really very sad. If you were there, outside our door, we have a trans flag. Outside of our door in the office, congressional office building, we have the trans flag, as do some of our other colleagues. But that view is not necessarily shared by people on the other side of the aisle.
You know, that view wasn't shared by you till a few years ago. It's just like these, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Democrats were all screaming, release the Epstein, release the Epstein. Then they had a vote to release it, and they all voted against it. She's saying that she wants trans kids to get cut a dick off of me's and addictomies. And she wants, and you know what the thing is, though? Now, Donald Trump has signed an executive order making it illegal for anybody under 18. However, it's any person over the age of 18 can go have a cut a dick off of me or add a dick to me. They can, nothing is stopping them from doing that other than they have to pay for it themselves. What Nancy Pelosi is talking about is the taxpayer paying for people's cut a dick off of me and add a dick to me. I better be careful what I'm saying because I'm on Facebook right now and YouTube. They might get mad at me. I mean, both channels basically have what do they call that back in the HBO or the Showtime days? Soft porn. That's porn. That's what I'm, some of the stuff that they put on there. And you report it doesn't go against community standards. Yeah. But if you start talking about transients, it's for entertainment purposes only. Yes. Anyways, just in case, this is just opinion. But that's what Nancy Pelosi wants because it's the latest thing. They think they're going to get 2 or 3 votes on the margin off of it. That's really all it is. They don't believe this stuff. Nancy Pelosi doesn't believe, nor does she care. Just whatever you got to say, whatever you got to do to win, to get power. But there's a thing coming for Nancy. It says, whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or anywhere or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death. Now, that is a misquote. That's not what the thing says. It does not say and shall suffer death, but that's okay. I mean, death penalty is definitely on the table when it comes to treason, but that's not what the code says. So this person edited it for their own opinion.
Democrats have
Now here is getting back to the gerrymandering and census. Here is Stephen Miller on Hannity.
Democrats have gerrymandered the vote beyond recognition to try to maintain their advantage in the House elections. On top of that, let's not forget, Democrats rigged the 2020 census by including illegal aliens. Remember, they sued Donald Trump. They sued the administration. They fought tooth and nail to include illegal aliens in the census. 20 to 30 of House Democrat seats wouldn't exist but for illegal aliens. Texas is taking just a small corrective step against this ocean of fraud, this ocean of abuse by the corrupt Democrat Party.
Yeah, because it's all over the place. It's not just the gerrymandering or the census. It's everything that they do. I mean, they have the entire apparatus. You got to understand how much my dog's moving around down here. How much advantage that the Democrats have because of the manipulation that they've done on so many different levels. And now, for the first time in my lifetime, Republicans are pushing back instead of being John McCain and Mitt Romney reaching around the aisle to take care of their Democrat friends across the aisle. For the first time, Republicans have decided under Trump to fight back and say, no. You two can play at this game. And we're going to go for it. And they don't like that. They don't like the pushback. They don't think it's right that they should be pushing back. And it's starting to affect them. And I'm trying to find this next post. Okay, it's Waters and Charlie Kirk I got here lined up about the census. Here it is right here. Okay. On the Waters show last night, Charlie Kirk was on.
Charlie, this is time for offense. I don't like all this talk about we can't do this, we can't do that.
I completely agree. And this is smash mouth politics. You see, Democrats, they don't hate gerrymandering. They hate losing. And they're very afraid that finally the Republican Party led by President Donald Trump is one that is playing to win. We witnessed Donald Trump have to face 700 years in federal prison. They were playing for keeps during the last presidential election. And now we won that election with great records and great margins. And now we're just trying to redistrict a singular state to be more representative of the Hispanic population in that single state. And they're talking about adding stars to the flag and adding Puerto Rico. Well, guess what? Two can play at this game. President Donald Trump announcing the new census. What that would do is that would also potentially subtract 20 electoral votes from Democrats in the electoral college system, as congressional seat appropriation is directly correlated with electoral college totals. Deeper than this, though, this is a new mentality. This is not a Republican Party that is just playing for neutrality or trying to protect broken norms. Instead, we are playing to win. We know we are up against a vicious opposition, one that might play a good game on television every so often or saying that they're working for the American American people, but deep down, we know what they are. We know what they represent. And President Donald Trump and this movement, and you see it across the country with the resolute attitude in Texas, is that we are now going to fight fire with fire. We're going to play offense, and we're finally going to be back in the director and the driver's seat to save this country.
I mean, how long is the Republican Party going to get bullied? I mean, you remember the schoolyard. You're just going to keep getting bullied if you don't stand up and punch the guy in the nose. This isn't out of bounds what the Republican Party is suggesting doing. This is stuff that's already legal. It's not extra legal.
Yes.
Everything that this administration has done so far is within the legal constitutional system. And guess what? He's having success.
Yes. And he's more popular this summer than he was beforehand. We're seeing mass migration coming to a complete halt. The border is totally secure. Economic optimism is up. People's consumer spending is going up. Not only that, we're seeing companies break earnings expectations. Recession fears are going away. As the previous clip said, this is exactly what we voted for. But make no mistake, the same people that tried to kick President Donald Trump off the ballot in Colorado, that tried to kick President Donald Trump off the ballot and put him in prison, they are not going to go away. And that is what I think the new philosophy of this governing coalition of the Republican Party needs to be. If you just want to go try to sue for peace with the Democrat Party, we want nothing to do with you. Instead, we have a mandate, and that mandate is that we want victory. And victory for America means the defeat of the Democrat Party. As they are a permanent minority party, America will succeed and America will win. As President Trump said a year ago, this country was dead. And now it is the hottest country in the world. Why? Because the Democrat Party was defeated. As the Democrats are defeated, America can succeed.
Well, you're hot now because South Park's mocking you. Watch South Park mock Charlie. Go ahead.
Oh my God, what makes you think you have the right to say what I do with my body?
Let me ask you something. If a pregnant woman is killed and the baby dies too, why is the killer charged with a double homicide?
Well, because people have different beliefs.
It's not about belief, it's about truth. Science confirms life begins at conception.
Were you honored?
Not only was I honored, they got the little sip of the water correctly. They got the hairdo. The little details are perfect. And look, South Park, they can be very nasty towards a lot of people. That just goes to show the impact, the cultural power of what we've been able to do at Turning Point USA, the billions of views, how we're able to get so many young people on board for conservative values. And this movement that President Trump has built on campuses across the country that we've been able to support is just remarkable. And so it is a great honor. And even more remarkably, that is a word-for-word quote on South Park.
They're watching. Don't be surprised how many people watch. Thanks, Charlie.
Hey, Facebook and YouTube. I didn't play that. Waters did. less than, I mean, that wasn't even 30 seconds. Less than 60 seconds, fair use. Okay. Chillax. Your video is sharing profit with the creator, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're not paying me either. So what percentage of zero are they getting? Anyways, I'm just kidding. I forgot that was in there. You see, you guys watching on Facebook and YouTube. The Patriot Mike Show is every day at 8:30 on Rumble, 8:30 Central on Rumble. And I talk a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I play things and talk about things I can't talk about today because Facebook and YouTube will take it down because they suck. They suck. They say it's copy, but you have fair use. You have fair use for some things, which is just what happened there. This is why Fox played a little snippet, but not all of it. It's okay. It's okay. We know that you don't like our information. You don't like our point of view. It's okay. We get it. We understand. We know that you got to keep the corporate government cooperation going on. You let all your Antifa buddies post their stuff about Nazis all over your platforms. Where the government and the corporations work together hand in hand. Nazism, like Ferdinand Porsche and Adolf Hitler creating the People's Wagon, kind of like that, or the Tiger II tank, whichever way you want to look at it. It's history. It's kind of like that. 6:30 a.m. in California. Well, I'm sorry, California. You know, it ain't my fault you're so far away. California, great place to be from. I'm here to tell you, a great place to be from. My sister's out there. She works in law enforcement out there in Northern California, and she's counting the days. I mean, counting the days till she can retire and get out of that place. Anyways, I'm not trying to be mean to California. I'm not. I'm really, I'm not trying to be mean. That's not it. So this is Election Wizard reporting. It says Democrats could lose big between red state redistricting and SCOTUS possibly striking down race-based districts in a new census excluding non-citizens. These factors could collectively cost them 32 to 42 seats in a worst-case scenario. That's another thing. It's going before SCOTUS. We're going to find out. Well, time changes. I mean, the time zones won't stop. I mean, it'll still be 6:30 a.m. in California when it's 8:30 here. That just has to do with, you know, not being a flat Earth, because if flat Earth and the big ball of fire comes up, or in this case goes around, there would be no zones, because the light would shine on everything. When something is flat, and you can see let's see if I can, I don't know if I can get this there, right there. Woo! You see this? See the light? When something's flat and the light shines off of it, it shines off all of it. But when something is round and the light shines on this side, it doesn't shine on this side. It's weird. I know. Some of you flat earthers are going to get all mad at me. It's my job to step on your religion and make you think. That's what I'm called to do. Stir that bucket. It's not a religion. It's science. And you can prove it. I am willing to admit that my beliefs come from my faith in God. Therefore, a lot of my beliefs and things is faith, because I can't prove it scientifically. So it's faith. But anything that I read it, I did my research, but did you do it yourself or did you read somebody else's stuff? If you read somebody else's stuff in a book, in a post, on a TikTok, whatever, it's taking it by faith in what they told you. Same thing. We're all taking things by faith. Yeah, spring forward and fall back. They've talked about it. I got a compromise for that one, though. And I know you know that, Carol. It just gave me an opportunity to talk about something I wanted to talk about. But I got a compromise. How about we just go 30 minutes? Like you know, it's 9:03. We'll just call it, I don't know, whichever way forward, whichever way back, 30 minutes. I don't know where we're at. Are we on daylight saving? I don't know. Whichever way it's supposed to be, we go that direction by 30 minutes. And then it solves the problem for everybody. I mean, if we could just arbitrarily change it whenever we want, just go by 30 minutes. And then, you know, meet in the middle. Meet in the middle behind the old Georgia pine.
It's just over 30.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good right there. So Donald Trump, just a reminder what Donald Trump does. The Bible doesn't claim that. People's opinion of the Bible, people interpreting the Bible, doesn't say anything about a flat earth. It's your interpretation of the scripture. The firmament. What does that even mean? I'm just saying. I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention to this matter. By the way, if you believe the earth is flat, I got nothing against you. Because you want to know something? I lean towards the round earth. I went to the debate with Pastor Greg Locke and what was his name? Odell? Was that his name? Anyways, that was bad. Okay. The same reason I don't go with the flat earthers is the same reason I don't go with the Bitcoiners. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But I went there. I went to their big meeting at the rally they had, or whatever you want to call it, at the hotel the night before. And they let me speak because I'm an influential member of the talking heads on the internet. And I just told them, look, I'm a skeptic. You got to convince me. And I sat down with 2 or 3 of them. I met Trey Smith. He was there, had dinner with him. I sat down with them and we had long conversations, and they told me this and they told me that, and I asked them questions they couldn't answer. And he said, boy, you're really smart. One of the guys, you're really smart about this kind of stuff. I said, I'm not smart. I just don't accept what everybody tells me face value, and I ask questions. How much energy does daylight savings save? None. It just moves it a few minutes. Yeah, one of the things that you got to do on verses like that is take it in context, number one, and make sure you got the words and the language correct. Go find out what the original Greek or Aramaic or Hebrew was saying in context. It makes a big difference. And there's a couple verses in there that they use, and I'm just like, yeah, but that can also mean this. You follow what I'm saying?
I want to
go back to the.
It's kind of like the old joke that the Flat Earthers website. This was a few years ago. Did Trey believe in the flat? He was with the Flat Earthers. He was friends with the Flat Earthers, and Trey has not on his show. He doesn't get into the controversy of it, but he was with them. And here's the reason why, number one reason why, what pushed me away completely from the flat earth stuff is the same thing that pushed me away completely from Bitcoin. I will never buy Bitcoin, ever. And here's why. Because the Bitcoin bros believe that Bitcoin is your savior, that Bitcoin is God, and Bitcoin's going to save the world. Bitcoin has replaced Trey Smith. I didn't say he was a flat earther. I said he was with them and friends with several of the big influencers. I did not say, he never really said. So no. I'm not saying, I'm just saying he was there and he was with them. And I met him. So let me make that very clear. He never expressed that he agreed or disagreed. Okay? I just want to make, he was with them. I was with them. I was with them to be open to what they were saying. But so just like Bitcoin is God, Bitcoin's a new religion, Bitcoin's going to save you from yourself, Bitcoin's going to do Bitcoin, just like these Bitcoin maxims, these Bitcoin bros, I call them. By the way, they blocked me on Telegram. I can no longer comment on their page. I don't even know what I said to get blocked, because I usually don't comment on the Bitcoin stuff on their page. I comment on the other. I probably said something positive about Israel, but because they hate Israel too over there on the Bitcoin page, the big Bitcoin pushers. But anyways, I digress. The spirit behind Bitcoin is similar to the spirit behind the flat earthers. And let me tell you something. Greg Locke and Pastor Adele were both wrong, in my opinion, because they were going at each other, and the spirit in that room was not holy, not even in a little bit. It was bad. And the flat earthers were blaming the Greg Locke church people, and the Greg Locke church people were blaming the flat earther people. And I got up to leave because it was starting to get crazy. I mean, it was starting to sound like an Antifa riot in the audience. And I got up to leave, and a friend of mine who is part of that church and part of leadership of that church caught me on going out the door. She says, "What do you think?" And I said, I like Trey too. There is a spirit here, but it ain't holy. And she goes, "Yeah, I'm not liking this at all." And so I think that Pastor Odell, who is that how you say his name? The pastor that was there, the flat earth pastor, and Greg Locke missed an opportunity because the majority of the flat earth people were not saved. They did not know Jesus. And they had an opportunity to preach Jesus, and they blew it. So that's where you get. That's part of the reason why I decided I'm done with that. I'm not going to follow that spirit. So now, whether or not the earth is round or the earth is flat, you and I have to take it on faith. If you agree, if you think the world is flat, you take it on faith. Why? You ain't been there. You ain't been up there at 100,000 feet looking down to see the edges. You ain't been, or you ain't been up there to see the curve. You don't know. This is the whole point of this whole conversation right here. You're taking it on faith that you believe what you believe. That's it. And here's the thing that I want to try to get you, whether it comes to flat earth or whether it comes to chemtrails or whether it comes to all the other theories that are out there. That if you can't scientifically document, prove it, show it, if you ain't been there and done the experiment yourself, if you haven't, if you're taking it on someone else's opinion, you're taking it on faith. That's all I'm trying to point out. And so admit that. And so that's all I'm saying. And my faith is in the Lord and what the Lord has showed me. And I take it by faith that the Lord has showed me. That it's that simple. It's not all that hard. It's not all that hard to see. Here is a forecast map from somebody else on what the next census could do. You would have gains +4 in Florida, gains +4 in Texas. You would lose -3 in California, -2 in New York. Total +10 to -9 for a Republican versus Democrat, and 1 toss-up. Well, the ship can't fall off the edge. There's an ice ring around the edge that holds all the water in. That's what they say. I've never been there. I asked my buddy who was in the Navy for many years. He said he'd never been there either. So I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see. Anyways, then there's this story. I don't know if I'm doing this out of order or not, but I want to talk about it, so we're going to. There's this story right here. Oh, did y'all see this? Speaking of faith, New images from show the Manhattan-sized interstellar object that could be an alien probe here to destroy us, Harvard scientist says. Uh-huh. Now, Seven makes a great point. Seven makes a great point, but also I'll make another point off your point, okay? This is part of it, okay? I have zero opinion about flat Earth, but do not believe we went to the moon. The whether or not we went to the balloon. Oh, the flat earthers will have fun with that one. Whether or not we went to the moon and the Earth is flat are irrelevant to each other. They are two separate issues. If the Earth is flat, we could have went to the moon. If the Earth is round, we could have went to the moon, or vice versa. It makes perfect sense to me that we would fake the moon landing during a Cold War with Russia. That makes perfect sense to me. That is a plausible explanation. Now, but this statement that Nixon could call 238,000 miles away I'm not talking about you, Seven, but that entire theory is ignorant because it's a total misunderstanding of physics. Because he didn't pick up the phone. That's not what happened. And then ring, ring, and on the spacecraft they picked up the old Edison phone. Hey, how you doing, Mr. President? That's not what happened. That on the spacecraft, if it's true, taken by faith, right? But they send radio waves at the speed of, how fast do radio waves travel? The speed of light. On a radio, by the way, this is a radio, but this is a radio too. I don't know if it got battery. I turned that off. This is a radio too. And they said, breaker, 19, Mr. President. And see, that signal traveled from at the speed of light, because that's how fast radio waves, which are type of light, travels, right? All the way to a receiver, kind of like a cell tower, a repeater, so to speak, travels through the repeater, down a wire, into the phone lines, to the president's desk where there's a phone. So he was on a phone. I've watched the video. He was on a phone and they were on a radio. I'm just telling you that it's possible. Look, I agree with you that it's possible. They faked the whole thing, but I'm telling you, it's possible to have the radio talk to the phone. That it's possible. Those are facts. Whether you like them or not, they're facts. But what do you mean? They do it all the time. They couldn't communicate with the astronauts a couple months ago. You can go right now to wherever it is, NASA's website, and get live video from the International Space Station right now. But that's all fake. Okay, whatever. But you can still go get it. There was no break. Are you talking about the astronaut that was stranded up there that they couldn't go get because they gutted our space agencies and we're trying to use Russian spaceships to go up to the International Space Station? They were in communication with them constantly. There was never a break in communication. That's all I'm saying. But again, all this stuff that you're talking about, you can believe it, but you got to, the only thing I'm asking is that you admit that it's on faith. 1-800 lunar landing. This conversation is devolving around here. I'm not ever going to watch Patriot Mike again because he doesn't believe it the exact way I do. God bless you. Anyways, Yes, I've seen Buzz Aldrin stuff. I've seen all the conspiracy stuff, and frankly, I don't care. I just don't care. Oh, I believe the Earth is round. I believe that we are launching stuff up into space all the time. I believe when I sit, in fact, I know when I sit in my hot tub, I can sit there at night and watch the Starlinks go across the sky, and they're not tethered to balloons. That's a bunch of malarkey. So, have we been to the moon? I don't know. Could we go to it? I imagine. Anyways, in other news, I'll get on whatever tangent I want to get on and talk about whatever I want. It's my show. Some people are enjoying it. They're in the comments enjoying it. Federal judge halts construction at Alligator Alcatraz for 2 weeks. I don't know where the judge gets the authority, but that's what the judge did. And so, you know, they get in here. You can't alligator Alcatraz because that's bad, and we're gonna complain and cry to our mommy. No, you don't have the authority. And I think this is what Ron DeSantis said. Federal judge orders halt to Alligator Alcatraz. Ron DeSantis says operations at Alligator Alcatraz are ongoing and deportations are continuing. So basically, nice ruling you have there, Judge. Again, I believe it's plausible we never went to the moon. But I also believe that the Earth is round and that Starlink is real and satellites are real. I mean, you can't prove it either way, and neither can I. If you were in my driveway, you might just see the moon. Yep, maybe. But the moon's not real either. It's a projection. It's a hologram. But the question that I have, it's a real interesting question I have. How long has this hologram technology been around? Because the moon talked about there in the beginning. You said in the beginning, right there in the Bible, first couple chapters, it talks about the moon. So who's running the hologram? That's just questions that I have with some people's theories. I mean, if it's true, here's one for you. Fiction becoming reality, if you hadn't heard. Maybe. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. Okay. Fiction becoming reality. Actor Dean Cain, who played Superman in the 90s, reveals he's joined ICE. For real. Check this out.
I felt it was important to join with our first responders to help secure the safety of all Americans, not just talk about it. So I joined up. They need your help. We need your help to protect our homeland and our families.
Of course, like it showed there, the lefties are all upset about it. Oh my gosh, it could be ICE. Oh, it's so un-Superman of you. Give me a break. Give me a break. You guys are ridiculous. Here's another thing on the census thing. This is Truth Hammer. Follow him on X and on Telegram. He says this: I'm getting excited about this census thing, y'all. Been researching it for a while and just discovered something. People keep claiming that SCOTUS issued a ruling declaring that illegals must be counted during the census. But after digging deeper, that's not the issue that was decided in the Department of Commerce versus New York 2020. That was an administrative violations procedures case that upheld the Census Bureau's existing precedent of counting all persons present. The merits on non-citizens being excluded were never ruled on by SCOTUS. In a sense, then, the Enron, I think he means Chevron doctrine. It's not Enron. Enron's another company. The Chevron doctrine was overturned, gutting an agency's independent power to make stuff up. Now the Department of Commerce and the Census Bureau are squarely under Trump's control. Yes, the Supreme Court has ruled that all power vested in the executive is under the president, meaning that all of these agencies are under direct control of the president. And they just ruled that in July, we talked about it, because they had two choices in that ruling. They could rule that the president has no authority over whatever agency, in which case that agency would now not be part of the executive. The Constitution firmly says anything not enumerated herein is delegated to the states. That's the 10th Amendment. Go read it. Meaning, if it's not listed that the federal government can do this, then it's a state's issue, not a federal government issue. So if these agencies are not directly under the president of the United States, which the Constitution says is controlled by the president of the United States, the executive branch, they cannot exist. So either the Supreme Court would rule that these agencies are controlled by President Trump, or they can't exist. Those are the only two things, only two options they had. So they went with their constitutionally valid under the executive branch was controlled by the president. So let's go back to this. And it's called Chevron's deference, not Enron doctrine. That's two different companies. I make mistakes, so I can't. Enron was that Ponzi scheme that collapsed in the mid 90s. That was Enron. And then a lot of companies have followed the Enron example. Enron owned no buildings, leased their furniture, leased everything. They owned nothing. And when they went under, their stock went to zero. There was nothing left. It didn't exist. It was all fake. The only remaining hurdle is a simple majority bill passing in the House and the Senate to modify Title 13 USC 141, which expressly prohibits an interim census being used to appropriate Congress. In other words, to get the seats. So they would have to pass a bill in Congress, which is an ordinance statute passed by a simple majority. It wasn't that funny that I say that I make mistakes. Come on, man. It's part of the show. I get a lot more right than I get wrong. Just saying. Why are you here? Oh, people. This is an interesting one. I'm deeply concerned this morning. I made a deposit a couple of days ago and got a notice from telling me how much I deposited. What? Oh, you mean, yeah, they track all that. FBI outs former acting director involved in January 6 prosecutions, with more expected. Sources describe the departure as retribution, though reasons remain unclear. So what are we talking about? The guy that all of the usual suspects have been screaming that the DOJ and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are all compromised. They're all compromised. This guy's still there, and he prosecuted January 6 people. He's still there. Oh, my God. That guy, they just kicked him out. So I guess the usual suspects will have to find something else to complain about. And, of course, they will, because things are starting to get a little bit, how shall I say, frisky. Things are starting to get a little bit frisky in the Middle East. Looks like, I haven't checked, but looks like we may be, again, at war in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. And
you will go immediately into a meeting with your security cabinet. Will Israel take control of all of Gaza?
We intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance. That is not Hamas and not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel. That's what we want to do. We want to liberate ourselves and liberate the people of Gaza from the awful terror of Hamas. And you were in the Gaza Strip today. You met Palestinians who are fighting Hamas because finally they see that they have a future. They can rid themselves of this awful tyranny that not only holds our hostages, but holds 2 million Palestinians in Gaza hostage. That's got to end.
So they're talking about going in and occupying Gaza City. That way we know it's live, not Memorex. So at the Saturday night church service cross connect that we have, I and a couple other people, my good buddy Maurice, who's way anointed by God in the music, we play, but only every other week or so, because a couple they people are working and it's hard to get and so we do video service where we do the praise and worship just with the projector and play the music over the speaker. Anyway, it turns out it's great being around these guys that are on fire for God, that were in the midst of hell on earth 6 months ago, but they've been delivered and set free. Is a joy to be. But I was messaging because I always I carry my drum stool and my drumsticks around with me most of the time, but I didn't have them in the car. And I said, is today's performance live or Memorex? Meaning, are we doing live performance, or today's music performance, I guess is the wrong word. You're not supposed to be performing. Whatever. Today's music live or Memorex. And the guy who is the associate pastor who plans all that out and make sure the speaker's there and the food's there and all that stuff, he says, Memorex, what is that? He's in his mid-30s. He didn't know what Memorex was. So I looked up in the chat. I went to YouTube, pulled up a Memorex commercial. Is it live or is it Memorex? And posted the YouTube link. It said, this is what I mean. That just reminded me of that. We're going, look, I intend to have fun. That's why I'm here. So that's why we talk about the things we talk about. So here's another one. This is a former Associated Press journalist, because all the usual suspects are going to be screaming this weekend, they're wanting to kill more babies. Hamas could end this war today, surrender, and set the hostages free. Did you know they still holding hostages from 2 years ago? They're still holding hostages. Did you know that? But a standard operating procedure. You go around and you pick a fight with somebody. You go around, I'm going to come back to this because this reminds me. You go around and you pick a fight with somebody, and then you cry when you get your butt kicked. How dare you hit me so hard? I was just playing. I was just messing around. It's kind of like this right here. So acting U.S. Attorney Bill Esley announces that the federal grand jury has indicted Jacob Daniel Terrazans out in L.A., 30 years old, after throwing pieces of cinder block at law enforcement officers on June 7th. He now faces 20 years in federal prison if convicted. See you when you're 50 years old, brother. Here he is being detained by ICE enforcement at the protest in June out in LA.
Hey, stay back! Stay back!
Why are you arresting him? Don't hurt him. You're being mean to him. You see, he can throw rocks, then that's okay. But you go and you apprehend him, and oh my gosh, how dare you? You can't do that. Oh my, it's so bad. You know, it's just like there in South Florida, where 3 teenagers broke into this dude's house. 3 teenagers broke into this dude's house, and while armed, the dude shot and killed 2 of them. And the family members of one of the kids that was shot and killed was like 16 years old. He was just trying to make money. How's he supposed to make money? He's just doing a simple robbery. He didn't want to hurt nobody. That's exactly what's going on right now in the Middle East. Now, Hamas, a little history here, and Israel were negotiating peace before October of 2 years ago. They were negotiating peace. They were Hamas was like, yeah, we want to, we'll just get rid of the walls and we'll just work together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya. It'll be great. We renounce terrorism. And Israel was buying it. They let down their guard. And then they fiddled around and found out. Now, all my Jew hating friends, and the one person I got that chat room I told you I was in for my local peeps. I left it. I told her, look, I've tried everything to convince you to take it easy, take a breath, stop going. I told her, you go down a rabbit hole. There's nothing but death at the bottom of it. But she kept going. She's doing it right now. Benjamin Netanyahu is personally killing babies. Don't you know? But the story we're getting out of there is not accurate. This is former Associated Press journalist blows the whistle on AP for complying with Hamas censorship.
AP, as far as I know, I was the first staffer to erase information from the story because we were threatened by Hamas, which happened at the very end of 2008. We had a great reporter in Gaza, a Palestinian, who had always been really an excellent reporter. We had a detail in a story. The detail was a crucial one. It was that Hamas fighters were dressed as civilians and were being counted as civilians in the death toll. An important thing to know, that went out in an AP story. The reporter called me a few hours later. It was clear that someone had spoken to him. And he told me, I was on the desk in Jerusalem, so I was kind of writing the story from the main bureau in Jerusalem. And he said, Mati, you have to take that detail out of the story. And it was clear that someone had threatened him. I took the detail out of the story. I suggested to our editors that we note in an editor's note that we were now complying with Hamas censorship. I was overruled. And from that point in time, the AP, like all of its sister organizations, collaborates with Hamas censorship in Gaza. What does that mean? You'll see a lot of dead civilians and you won't see dead militants. You won't have a clear idea of what the Hamas military strategy is. And this is the kicker, the center of the coverage will be a casualty number that is provided to the press by something called the Gaza Health Ministry, which is Hamas. And we've been doing that since 2008. And it's a way of basically settling the story before you get into any other information. Because when you put, when you say 50 Palestinians were killed and 1 Israeli on a given day, it doesn't matter what else you say. The numbers kind of tell their own story. And then it's a way of kind of settling the story with something that sounds like a concrete statistic. And the statistic is being, given to us by one of the combatant sides. But because the reporters sympathize with that side, they're happy to they're happy to play along. So since 2008, certainly since 2014, when we had another serious war in Gaza, the press has not been covering in Gaza. The press has been essentially an amplifier for one of the most poisonous ideologies on earth. Hamas has figured out how to make the press amplify its messaging rather than covering Hamas. There are no Western reporters in Gaza. All of the reporters in Gaza are Palestinians, and those people fall into three categories. Some of them identify with Hamas. Some of them are intimidated by Hamas and won't cross Hamas, which makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't want to cross Hamas either. And the third category is people who actually belong to Hamas. That's where the information from Gaza is coming from. And if you're credulous, then of course you're going to get a story that makes Israel look pretty bad.
Yes, it's called biased reporting. And the other thing is, when you're doing all this research into whatever subject that you're researching, the deeper you go into your research, the more of a bubble you become. You see the algorithm. Oh, I'm searching on Google. I'm searching on Brave. I'm searching on Torrent. The algorithm, all them search engines feed you what you want and what they want you to want. That's why I believe this on all issues. And I've been starting to practice this more and more and more lately, that you should ask God what he thinks. And I've been doing it. I've been saying, God, how do you feel about this? I'll give you an example. So I shared the story earlier in the week of the chick who played in Wicked, the black gal that shaves her head or whatever. She played in Wicked, and now she's doing Jesus. She's portraying Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway. And it was, I mean, she looks demonic. So I asked God, what do you think? You know what his answer to me was? I've been meaning to bring this up, and I hadn't done it. She needs to be prayed for. She needs deliverance. She needs me. That was the answer that God gave me for her. And then it was this. Wouldn't it be amazing if she repented and renounced her witchcraft and turned fully towards me? What a testimony. Is God trying to tell me something? Is there an opportunity? Does God want that woman? I'm telling you, we are living in a time of miraculous. We are living in a time of harvest. We are living in a time when you're going to see transformations like that. So I pray, I don't even know what her name is. I pray for that woman right now who's playing Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar, that the Holy Spirit snatches a hold of her, convicts her on stage. And she repents, and she falls on her knees and declares herself a bondservant to Christ, as in Romans 10:9 and 10. I was like, God, because I'm like offended. I remember I was watching Robin Bullock, and he said I was really upset. I was out, and somebody kept using the Lord's name in vain. You know, GD this and GD that and GD this. And he said, I went out, I started talking to God about it. I said, this makes me so mad. God said to me, this is Robin Bullock. God said to me, you're acting like somebody insulted your mother. He's like, but aren't you upset with about? He says, I'm not upset that they said those words, but I'm upset that they called me a liar, because I've never damned anybody, ever. No. Wouldn't it be amazing? When I look at people and I think that they've gone that far, have God turned them over to their reprobate mind? And what God said to me is, that's not your decision. Wouldn't it be awesome? Could God do it? Absolutely. I mean, it's her decision, right? Is it? God knew the end from the beginning. He has a plan. His ways are not our ways. We cannot even think like him or understand like him. What an amazing thought. What an amazing thought that would be. I mean, just, does that not just blow you away? It blows me away. I don't know. So here's another story. Oh, yeah, money laundering. We'll get to that. Here's another story. Let me find it here. This is on Laura Ingraham. Have you heard about what they're doing in some schools? Listen to this.
The next story seems too sickening to be true. Tonight, we're learning that a Northern Virginia high school stands accused of helping students get secret abortions. After a report by the WC Dispatch, the Fairfax County School District is investigating allegations that officials at Centerville High School arranged and bankrolled abortions at Fairfax Healthcare Center back in 2021. Now, both of the students say they were underage at the time. One says she got the abortion at 17. The other told the Dispatch that she was 5 months pregnant and was pleading to keep her baby. But the school social worker, Carolina Diaz, allegedly told her that she had no choice. Well, the girl ended up bolting from the clinic, we're told. Here to discuss is Carrie Lucas, a Virginia president and parent at the Independent Women's Forum. Carrie, while we haven't spoken to these students, they told the WC Dispatch that this was kept hidden from their parents. Well, if that's true, that means that it looks like taxpayer money was going to fund secret abortions for minors without consent from any adult. What can you tell us tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it really is just outrageous. It's the latest example of just how really out of control some of these schools have gotten and no longer being in their lanes and displacing parents. This is money that is supposed to be going to educate kids. And unfortunately, if these allegations are true, it was doing the absolute opposite and was being used to pay for an abortion, which is just, everybody, I think, recognizes that this is simply outrageous.
Well, Fairfax County Public Schools told the Angle that they have serious questions about the allegations, and at no time would the situation be acceptable in the Fairfax County Public School system. They say there is an external investigator to get the facts out there and will take the appropriate actions as necessary. Well, look, again, these are allegations. They do have to investigate them. We also know that Fairfax County Public Schools and the superintendent, head of the board, a lot of the board members, are incredibly left-wing. They're real problems. All I hear from parents that they hate the public schools in Northern Virginia. They're good, some good teachers, some good administrators, but it's run in a left-wing radical fashion. So I guess a lot of people say it wouldn't surprise me. It actually wouldn't surprise a lot of people if true.
Yeah, I think that's certainly true, but I feel like we can look at this a little bit as a cup a half full moment, in that you do have a teacher who came out and is standing with the girls and helping blow the whistle on this. So it does seem like that there's some hope that things might be starting to change. People might be getting more emboldened, and I certainly hope that's the case as we do head back to school. That parents remember, you have a right to know anything that's going on in schools. Demand information. You deserve to know your kid's curriculum and what's going on in schools. Don't let the schools push you aside, because it's their job to keep you informed. And I do think a lot of teachers out there and some good administrators recognize that this has gone too far and are likely to be willing to stand with you.
Well, that is good news if that's the case. Fairfax County Public Schools has a policy, by the way, about counseling pregnant students, and it states that if a student requests counseling services or is considered to be in need of such services, school staff members should refer the student to the public health nurse or Fairfax County Department of Health and avoid influencing the student regarding the pregnancy. So if the allegations are true, they seem to be in direct contravention to the policy as stated.
Absolutely. I mean, this would be so far out of bounds that I think that a lot of even Fairfax County Public Schools is saying that this is wrong if this indeed happened. So I do think that this will be, hopefully we'll see a full airing of what exactly happened in this, and hopefully some accountability, because you're right, that Fairfax County has gotten away with a lot, and it's time for things to be changed and not just brushed aside. And the good news is you have the Trump administration that's willing to come in and also help and apply some federal pressure if necessary.
Federal involvement may be necessary, and parental rights must be preserved. Carrie, as always, thank you so much. And coming up,
thank you.
So that's kind of a messed up story. And if someone tried to do that with my kid, it would not be a good conversation that we're having on the phone. It would be bad. I would not be going quietly into the night. Hey, have you guys seen? Have you seen? I talked about it. I'm on Facebook right now. Those of you on Facebook and on YouTube and stuff. So the former company where I was representing products for went out of business, and we started a new company. And by we, I mean we started a new company. And we're a couple months into it, and it has been making a big difference. We have been taking a product called Body, Nueva Body. And I don't know if you notice a difference here, but the picture on the right, well, I don't know, right, left. Does a screen flip? I don't know. Anyways, this picture right here, the one in the lighter blue shirt was taken from a video, because I don't like to take a lot of pictures of myself, from a video just prior to starting the products. And the picture was from this picture right here is from earlier this week. The other picture. Can you see a difference? Same spot, same camera, same microphone, same everything. I could see a difference. That is, I'm down 15 pounds. Just from taking that product, Nueva Body. I used to talk about the chocolate sauce makes your pants fall off. Well, this is the one little itty bitty tiny pill that makes your pants fall off, and it makes a absolute difference. I'm gonna have to go down a size in pants. That's where I'm at right now. And my wife walks in just before I was kicking off the show, because she had to go take her Jeep in for, it's a Jeep, so it needs something fixed. She had to go take her Jeep in and get it worked on. And I looked over at her, and I was amazed. We're doing it totally wrong. The company wants you to do a bunch of measurement stuff and stand on the scale and all this stuff. And I just don't care that much, I guess. But my wife is shrinking. She's shrinking, ladies and gentlemen, just for taking this pill. Those are all saying, I need some of that. I tell you what, it is huge. And I'm not the only one. There's people all over the place. You want to be added to a Facebook group where you can see what this stuff does result with no pressure. Nobody's going to try to get you to buy anything. Let me know, and I'll get you added to that. And if you want to know the link where you can find this stuff, send me a message on Facebook. You're over there on Facebook watching right now. Send me a message. Send me a message on Facebook. Send me a message to 660-620-2644 or an email to PatriotMikeShow@gmail.com. The email or the Facebook is the easiest, but I could do it on the other two. And I'll send you the link to get started. It's real simple, along with the other products that we offer. There's actually two links. One for the Nueva Body line, and they're coming out with a new product in that line next week, I believe. It's going to be called Beauty. And I think, I'm not 100% on that. In fact, I probably shouldn't even said anything, but it is what it is. And you look younger too. And my energy is through the roof. My energy is better. My mental clarity is better. I've lost a few pounds. I feel better. I don't hurt as much. That's what these products are doing for me. It could do the same for you. The usual snap, cracking, creaking, and the pop. Just contact me. I'll tell you that in the description section right now is the links, wherever you're watching this, except for on X, we don't have a description section. So you have to go to Facebook or preferably Rumble and get the links to see what this is all about. I've been doing it now for watch yourself, Marine. I don't swing that way. I know how you Marinians are though. It's been a fun ride. 30 days. I've been doing it 30 days. So come on, I thought you are a mechanic. You talking to me? Dude, I sold all that. I don't do that no more. So I have a goal, and I meant to announce this. I have a goal. Here's the thing. I'm trying to hit a goal. I want to get 10 customers by the end of the month. And I had 50 to 100 customers before. So where'd y'all go? Are there bundle discounts? Absolutely. There's all kinds of different bundle discounts. Here's what I'm going to do. Those of you, and there's several of you in the chat right now that are signed up as distributors. Here's what I'm going to do. If you're a distributor, if you're signed up to be part of Nueva, if you can get 3 customers, you get 3 of your own customers, you'll be entered into a drawing to get a bag of nitro. There's 15 little sachets of nitro. If you are a customer, and starting yesterday, if you make a purchase through my link as a customer of mine, you don't have to sign up, no commitment, no nothing. You will be entered into a drawing to win a free bag of nitro. So I'm giving away 2 bags of nitro. So either to the person that signed up as part of Nueva, you get 3 of your own customers, and you'll make money, by the way. Or if you're just a customer and you sign up. So go over there and get signed up, or go over there and you don't have to sign up. Get over there and purchase the product, and I'm just throwing in a little Benny, random, going to put them in a hat, have my daughter draw it out. I don't know how many of you there's going to be. Is it an appetite suppressant or what exactly? That's a great question. Send me, Shirley, I see you're on Facebook, send me a message. And I'll share that. I'll share with you the information. But what it is a see, so many words I can't say. So that makes it a challenge. I can tell you privately. It is a new technology in science that helps your body mimic a workout. There's some appetite suppression. A lot of the people are saying that it takes away food noise. I don't even know what that means, but I guess that would answer your question. Yes, maybe. But there's things in it that makes your body think that it's been in a workout. It also helps alleviate the when your body is in where your body has insulin sensitivity. Insulin sensitivity, it helps to alleviate some of that, if you know anything about that sort of thing. And there's some other things too. So okay, the nitro doesn't help you lose weight. The nitro gives you an energy boost. However, if you'd like to try it, I'd suggest try it. And by the way, I'm going to say this. I'm going to get back to the show. Nuevas, understand all these companies are out there. One of the things that the former company had was the GLP product, right? Everybody has that product right now. Everybody has that product. Everywhere. It's everywhere. Nueva's philosophy is 2 things. 1, cutting edge science nobody else has, and stackable science. What does that mean? That the Nueva Body stacked with the nitro, stacked with the Snow Collagen, multiplies what it does. Multiplies what it does. So if you buy one product, it works. If you buy another product, you buy the nitro, it gives you the energy, it opens up your blood vessels, it gets rid of the brain fog, it does all this stuff. But you take the nitro, then you take the Nueva Body, and it multiplies the effects. Then you throw in the Snow Collagen, and it multiplies it again. they're making it so these things stack and have a greater effect. So just give it a shot. Hey, give it a shot. Barberine, I don't even know what that is, but cool. The part of the problem with me trying to explain it on here is there's words I can't use because the FDA, because this is a supplement and it doesn't treat or cure any disease. And if I start talking about, but let me tell you this. That these type of products, Joe Rogan talks about, RFK Jr. talks about, other science talks about how good they are for you. So let's get started with the show. Let's go back to the show. Show of the show. Here we are, Charlie Kirk and General Flynn.
And Jim Comey and I are part of the group that were tasked by President Obama to put together all the reporting we had on the Russian interference, and which we did. President Obama directly and personally confronted Putin about the Russian interference in September and did not accept at face value Putin's protestations. John Brennan directly did the same thing with his counterpart.
Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, was that the clip that you were mentioning?
Yeah, I'd say that's perfect. That was perfect. So thank you for teeing that up. So for your audience, so he said in September, and that's September of 2016. What's very important is on the 3rd of August of 2016, 3 August 2016, back to Brennan, he brought into President Obama at that time into the Oval Office the dossier and told Obama at that time that was made up information from the Hillary Clinton campaign that they were going to use as their October surprise against Trump to win the presidency. So Brennan and Obama on the 3rd of August of 2016 knew then that it was made up baloney from the Hillary Clinton campaign to attack Trump so she could be the president. So here's Clapper. It's a really important piece of evidence here that Clapper says in September, so a month later, here is Clapper saying that the president directed him as the director of national intelligence to gather all the evidence about what Russia was doing to interfere in our elections. Well, Obama already knew that this scheme was in play. That was August of 2016. Now we fast forward, Trump wins, and I'll remind your audience again, there was a very famous text message that I brought out in my case from Strzok to his lover and number 2 lawyer at the FBI, Lisa Page. Peter Strzok was the deputy director of counterespionage for the FBI. And in his text message to her is, if Trump wins, we have a insurance policy, right? If he should win, we have an insurance policy. Well, after I get picked by Trump, after Obama said, no, we can't have him, I get picked by Trump to be the national security advisor. Now it's like, oh my God, this guy who ran one of the largest intelligence agencies in the world, had a very different view and was very close to Trump on our foreign policy ideas. On the 8th of December, this is one of the bombshells that Tulsi discovered. On the 8th of December, in the Oval Office, after Trump beat Hillary, which they didn't expect, they then sat in that meeting and they conspired to start the engines of Russia going. Fast forward one more month, 5 January 2017, they did it again. This time in that meeting, and this is hard evidence, Charlie, in the court of law, hard evidence that during that 5 January meeting, they said, essentially, we need to get Flynn out in order to get Trump, okay? And we know that because there were notes that were written by people in that meeting that we were able to put out in my case.
Yep. So there's a little bit more from that, but I want to answer your question. 7, no, it's not the stuff that's in the shot. Here, for those of you who want to know, it's 5 amino acid 1-MQ. This is what's in the pill that helped me lose the weight. And it's SLUPP332. Those are the 2 ingredients stacked together that give you the results. Write that down and look it up. Look it up, because I can't tell you what they do, but you can look it up and see what the science is behind it and what people are saying about it. You can do that. You absolutely can do that. So I'm going to put that on the screen. Now, here's the rest of General Flynn's comments on the Charlie Kirk show, talking about the Russia stuff. And he knows because he was all tied up in it.
Talk about John Brennan. I'm of the opinion, and I want your opinion, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn,
that we need to be very cautious and very careful going about possibly indicting Barack Obama himself. I think we should start with John Brennan. I think John Brennan is the central nervous system. He's the offensive coordinator. He was calling the plays. He was the maestro of the orchestra. I think that is the lowest hanging fruit, and he does not have presidential immunity. Do you agree? And if so, what could he be charged for realistically?
Yeah, I do agree that he is the sort of the linchpin here, Charlie. And I do think that there are people, in fact, I know because partly Tulsi has said it, but I also am aware that there are whistleblowers that have come forward with some very, very egregious information as it relates to that man that you're showing right now. There are going to be other leaders that were in the rooms with Barack Obama, with those two, with Obama and Brennan, that are also going to, they're going to talk because they don't want to get into trouble here. There is a conspiracy, and it is still an ongoing conspiracy. And so all this talk about statutes of limitations, I'll leave it to the constitutional lawyers who have studied this thing and looked at the problems that this guy is involved in, that Brennan is involved in. But he's got a lot. He's at risk right now in a big, big way. And I have a funny feeling that once you start to bring these people in, and I've been very public about guys like Jim Clapper, because Jim Clapper, I believe you bring Jim Clapper in, Jim Clapper will spill the beans. Jim Clapper has already said publicly on a cable news network that they were ordered by Obama to do it. We now see the evidence. So he said it, and that's fine. But now we have the evidence coming out of the Director of National Intelligence's mouth and documented that shows that, in fact, these things happened. Tulsi Gabbard the other day on another show talked about these things happening. So the legalities of what these people are facing, I think, are severe. It has to happen. I think that the president of the United States also needs to understand this, again, for your young audience. The president of the United States is the president of the United States. He is the commander-in-chief, but he's also the chief law enforcement officer of the country, not the attorney general. The attorney general is the attorney general. And frankly, you don't even need to be a lawyer to be the attorney general of the United States of America. Most people don't know that. But the chief law enforcement officer is the president, who has extraordinary authority and power, executive power. And the president's going to have to weigh in from time to time to direct his justice system to follow what I call the constitutional order of our country, to go after and hold to account people like Brennan, people like Jim Comey. And there are going to be others. And once they start that ball rolling and they start holding these people accountable, I think, and frankly, the evidence is there. We don't need years-long investigations. The evidence is there. And frankly, for the courageousness of Tulsi Gabbard, who I'm a big fan of, she's exposing more and more. And what these people do know, Charlie, is they know that there's more to come.
Yep. It's all starting to come together, and there's going to be some real charges coming. It's not just a little bit anymore. It's a big bit, and it's getting worse. People are starting to figure out the scam. And the Democrats have been doing this sort of stuff for the longest times. Of course, the Republicans, I believe we're going to find out, have been getting paid to reach around the aisle and work together, if you know what I'm talking about, right? Like John McCain back in the day. Here is the Act Blue magic mortgage money laundering scheme, and this is how it works.
So tell me, magic mortgages, what in the world is this, Senator?
So we have this architecture that when you buy a house, generally it goes into escrow. You have a title company that handles the escrow, and there are a number of documents that go into it. So just at a broad scale, let's imagine you buy a house. Grant Stinchfield buys a house for $200,000, and it's funded by one of the North American banks. We'll just say Wells Fargo.
Nail, send me the picture.
All the records, including the mortgage, the deed of trust, the Alta insurance policy, all of those records are recorded in the county record. Then just a few minutes later, your $200,000 house suddenly has a $200 million magic mortgage that comes through. It's nothing but a wire that goes through the title company. There's no lender involved because it's a hard money loan, what they call a cash hard money loan. But because it goes through a title company, there's no notation of who the lender is. And it goes on through the system. Now, what's interesting is, and this is what caught our attention, these are Act Blue officers, corporate officers. Once we found one, it led to another and another and another and another. So we have them all over the nation. And this is just one small fragment of the human map. You leave this digital dust, if you will. This is one small fragment.
You have all of these gigantic financial transactions. Now the question becomes, how do they funnel that back into the campaigns? Is that the small dollar donations that we see that show up at some lady's house and she's donated to Act Blue 52 times and she knows nothing about it?
Well, that's just one small aspect of it. So James O'Keefe, got to give that guy credit with the whole smurfing piece that he's done. And we got to be careful about what we're calling this. This is a research project because we're not licensed investigators. We want to make sure that people understand that this money is going into organizations that this architecture was set up by Barack Obama to spread cash around the country and to put money into political action committees, into non-government organizations, to fund candidates, to set up the whole architecture for a public relations machine, read basically propaganda machine, to promote the whole concept that we're a team, we've got great funding, it's all behind us. So here in Arizona, for example, the Arizona Democrat Party, not more than about 5 weeks ago, it replaced their chairman because their fundraising is 25% of what it was last year. Well, where did all the donors go? So what we're talking about here, Grant, is wholesale fraud, where the money is distributed by Act Blue officers. And now, because we're not federal law enforcement, we don't know exactly where it went, but that's why we've turned it over to U.S. attorneys.
And that brings me to the real news, I guess, is that you have handed this over to the Department of Justice. What has been their response of taking the evidence? We'll call it evidence because, nothing's been proven yet. I'd like to get Act Blue's response on all of this, but you turn over this evidence to DOJ. What do they say to you?
We are now engaged in conversations with a number of U.S. attorneys, former U.S. attorneys, lawyers who are not yet confirmed U.S. attorneys. So there is great interest. I've got to believe that Attorney General Pam Bondi has forwarded this out to the folks that are the financial crimes folks. And by the way, it wasn't just the AG. We also sent it to the IRS Criminal Division and to the FBI. So Director Patel also has this.
Dream Killer, that's an interesting thought, saying that the shooting in New York on the 32nd floor was possibly tied to the Magic Mortgage scheme, because she was a lady in charge of Blackstone's several billion-dollar investment into homes. Robert says, and I hadn't heard this either. The lady killed, they state, was going to work for the government as a witness for this. Maybe. I don't know. I hadn't heard that. A lot of this stuff, you got to be careful, though. What's your source? Because is it just one podcaster telling another podcaster telling another podcaster? But it is an interesting thought. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was true. I mean, these people, people have died around the Clintons for less. A lot less, if you know what I mean. So here is, no, not that one. Here's John Solomon talking about what's next as these investigations start to unfold into the Russia.
Make us smart right now. What should the War and Posse be looking for in developments in this case?
I'd be staking out the Justice Department next week to see which U.S. attorney comes to meet with Pam Bondi, because that most likely would be the U.S. attorney that inherits the grand conspiracy case. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be Miami, and then the grand jury will be put in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is the same district where Jack Smith did his business and the raid on Mar-a-Lago and all of the things that we now know about that. That makes a lot of sense, because that's the back end of the conspiracy. Most grand juries are impaneled where the most current crimes or alleged crimes are believed to have occurred, and then you work your way back to earlier. So I'd be watching for a visit by the Miami U.S. attorney or some team from Miami or Fort Pierce coming up, and then look for some announcements. If that happens, then the grand conspiracy investigation that has already been written as a predicate by the FBI is underway. If they start doing business in Washington, it means they're fragmenting this and maybe not looking at it as a conspiracy. So I'd be watching for that. My gut tells me, based on what I'm hearing behind the scenes from reporting, that the grand conspiracy is the approach that they're taking.
So the approach that he believes they're taking as a grant, that means there's no statute of limitations. There's no statute of limitations till the grand conspiracy is completed. And then to continue the grand conspiracy is to say that there is no conspiracy, would continue it. I mean, it's that simple. It's that simple. So it is definitely here's another one. So Chanel Rowan, how you say her name? Rowan, y'all know who I'm talking about. She's calling on Congress to revoke the impeachments of Trump.
It's happening. Subpoenas have been sent. The House Oversight Committee is compelling the Clintons, former FBI snake James Comey, former attorneys general Merrick Garland, William Barr, Eric Holder, all of them to testify under oath about their roles in the outrageous Russiagate hoax. And remember what Russiagate was. Quite simply, it was this. Hillary Clinton paid for fake evidence on Donald Trump, her opponent, to paint him as a Russian asset and fed this garbage to the Obama intelligence apparatus. Russiagate became Russiagate the moment outgoing President Barack Obama called his National Security Council in 2016 and early 2017 after Trump's victory and set in motion a plot to sabotage Trump's presidency. It was set in motion by Barack Obama, and we have documents to prove it. A plot that resulted in not one, but two sham impeachments of Donald John Trump. And for what? For nothing. Nothing but great expense to the taxpayer, the Trump family, the Trump presidency, and America's trust. Will anyone land behind bars? Probably not. But at least history will be avenged, won't it? Not quite. You see, Democrats may have lost these last few rounds, but they still hold the key to how history will remember. They still control our children's school systems. They still control academia. They still control the media. They still control pop culture. This all becomes abundantly clear when you see the headline last week, when the Smithsonian removed a temporary placard noting how Donald Trump was impeached twice during his first term. The Democrats, led by failed screenwriter Senator Adam Schiff, threw an absolute fit when the Smithsonian removed the plaque. They want you to forget, he bemoans. The screeching left accused the Smithsonian of being pressured by Trump to remove the plaque. Yet, the liberal-led Smithsonian insisted it was not pressured by any administration, and the plaque was removed for aesthetic reasons, in light of their big update efforts, whatever that means. The Smithsonian did add that the updated exhibit will include, quote, all impeachments. The Democrats cannot stand this. If the Smithsonian does not put up their stupid plaque noting their sham impeachments, the last years of getting Trump, all the labor that they put into their fiction coal mines will have gone to waste. Trump is rewriting history, they accuse. They care about historical accuracy? Now? They don't give a flying pig's foot about historical accuracy. Accuracy is not what this fight is about for them. Remember that. The left just wants to have their Herculean efforts memorialized in a plaque for millions to see and believe. It's not that Trump or anyone wants you to forget that these sham impeachments happened. No. In fact, we cannot afford to forget them at all. We need to remember these antics for all time as a black badge of shame for the Democrats and just how depraved, desperate, and corrupt they are when they have control. I'm all for the Democrats suddenly having their moment with historical accuracy. Let them have it. And I am all for the Smithsonian including, quote, all impeachments on one condition and one condition only. It's time for Congress to revoke and rescind the 2 hoax impeachments against Donald J. Trump. If a Republican Congress, now armed with clear evidence of the Obama-Clinton plot to sabotage Trump, does not rescind and revoke Trump's 2 impeachment hoaxes, what are they even doing any of this for? What are these subpoenas for? What are these interviews about? Why drag Hillary's miserable face into the limelight again? True justice is about righting wrongs, and both impeachment hoaxes against Trump were unequivocally wrong. The only right possible is to revoke and rescind. Revoking and rescinding provably corrupt impeachment hoaxes are fully within the powers of Congress. I can tell you right now, the MAGA base wants to see resolve and retribution, not years of legislative dithering. Revoking and rescinding Trump's 2 sham impeachments would be the ultimate symbol of the big take back. Justice's come back. That America is back. Vengeance is good, saith the sword. Are the votes there? It's a good question to ask a few enthusiastic congressmen and women. I think I'll do just that. You should too.
I don't know who she was quoting there, but the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But, it's okay. Mike says, they'll all plead the 5th. And when you plead the 5th, it is the 5th Amendment, which says you cannot be compelled to testify against yourself and incriminate yourself. So by pleading the 5th, you're saying there's incriminating evidence that I'm not going to talk about against myself. The 5th cannot be used. Pleading the 5th cannot be used against you. But it basically says, yep, I did it. So I'm not talking about it because you don't have to testify against yourself. And thank you, Mike, for that. I appreciate it there on Rumble. He says, good morning, Mike and Patriot family. Checking in late. We're glad you're here. And I appreciate that so much. He put a little coin in the tip jar if you're over there on Rumble. Down at the bottom where you chat, there's a little $sign. If you feel like you want to donate $1 or $2 to keep the Patriot Mike Show going, you can do that. And that's what he did. And I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. And rescinding. That would be fun. Could you imagine the screaming? But the thing is, by the time we get there, most of them will be gone anyway, and it will not matter. It will not matter because they'll be gone, gone, gone. So here's another one. Could it be other types of charges coming? Listen to this. And you think about Act Blue and you think about the magic mortgages.
Subpoenas that went out, those are set to make their way into D.C. towards the end of August, perhaps even September. But I've also heard, hey, even though we got these subpoenas and we're going to bring them in for questioning, getting indictments is one thing, getting a conviction on some things are another. And if you turn your attention to all of the Epstein information with Bill and Hillary Clinton coming in here as well, there's a lot to uncover there. It's a lot to unpack with this investigation. I've got some sources, some independent journalists that have really put a lot of time in this. Look out for money laundering charges and the interest going towards Hillary and Bill Clinton.
Woo, that's some juicy stuff right there.
Money laundering charges against Bill and Hillary. That'd be interesting. Let me tell you, the Clinton Foundation was about 2 things: laundering money and children. And when you get to the laundering money, you're going to tap into the children. And that's not going to be very good. Dan Scavino posted this yesterday. He said, time flies. 2 years ago this month, we dropped it. The mugshot August 24, 2023. Election interference, never surrender, DonaldTrump.com. They did everything they could to keep this guy from becoming president again, because they knew if he became president again, it was going to be bad for them. And that's exactly what's happening. It's bad for them, completely and totally bad for them. But never forget, it says, during the first stage of the campaign, due to the lack of direct evidence, it was decided to disseminate the necessary information through the FBI-affiliated, attic-based technical structures that are involved in cybersecurity, in particular, the CrowdStrike and Threat Connect companies, from where the information would be disseminated through leading U.S. publications. What are we talking about? All the way back to the middle of the Donald Trump presidencies.
They had turned the server over to either you or Director Comey, maybe we would have known more. And maybe there would have been more for you to report. So I guess what I'm asking you is, why would the victim of a crime not turn over a server to the intelligence community or to law enforcement?
I'm not going to argue with you, sir. That was a leading question, and I'll agree to be led.
So why didn't we use law enforcement to go and check out the DNC servers? Because they didn't want real investigators. See, the problem is, it wasn't going to be the Brennans and the Clappers and the Comeys and the Strokes that were going to get a hold of this. It was going to be the regular average guy, the FBI process guy, the FBI tech guy that was going to get a hold of these things. They couldn't have that because it might leak out. Magic Mortgage is the same thing that Sean Taylor is uncovering in Tennessee. Not surprised, it's probably everywhere. Let me explain something. Let me just drop something into your lap. I played that prophetic word from Brandon Biggs yesterday, where he was talking about Donald Trump walking a pig around. The pig was the economy. I asked God about it. This is what God told me. The pig was the economy. That Donald Trump has a lot of pride in his abilities when it comes to financial stuff. And God says, I blessed him in that. I anointed him in that. So he is right to do the things that he's doing, but he's taking the credit himself. And that the pig that Donald Trump put lipstick on a pig, the things that he's doing are good things, but it doesn't change the fact that our economy is nothing but a stinking, rotten, miserable pig, and it needs to be reset. And part of the vision, he saw homes floating with no basement, nothing there. This magic mortgage fraud thing going on is so pervasive and so big. You got to understand, if they bought a house in your neighborhood and it's now evaluated $130,000 to $1 million in a few months or a year or whatever, when they undo all that, this housing market that has gone up through the roof, potentially mostly by fraud, that pig might start smelling like bacon. It might be cooked, done, complete, finished, over. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And you know what? These Democrats, they know it. They know it. They know that they're stuck in a corner. And it's only going to get, but they only have one bag of tricks. You see, Rush Limbaugh pointed out, and we're almost done here. No show after the show date's Friday. I got things I got to do. You know how it is. Well, just remember, I talked about resetting. What if Donald Trump's simple plan is resetting the dollar bill to silver? 1 ounce of silver for $1 bill. Just think about that for a minute. When my parents bought their house in California for, I don't remember the number, $19,000, whatever it was. It was 19,000 silver dollars. And when they sold it, $220-something thousand, they sold it for fiat dollars. Silver was $15 an ounce when they sold it. Do the math. Who will be saved? Biden to Sarah. I don't know what Sarah has to do with it, but I don't think so. Right now, gold is trading at $34.92. Saying silver's trading at $38.59. Here is Fox News reporting on the defenders of democracy.
Erosion of democracy is well underway.
This democracy is broke. This democracy is hurting, but this democracy is worth saving.
Oh, really? The noble defenders of democracy strike again. All right, this lazy and vapid line of attack flopped in the 2024 election, but heck, they're just sticking with it.
We're just moving further and further away from being anything close to democracy. If you're going to save this country or this republic or whatever you want to call it, you're going to have to do something in 2028 because it's slipping away from us by about a minute.
I didn't even know Al Hunt was still around. Like, look, as we've been telling you, they're happy to subvert or dilute democracy if it means holding on to power.
The Democrats win the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2028. They are just going to have to unilaterally add Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia states. The Constitution gives Congress power over federal elections. I don't think they can redistrict, but they're things they go do. They're going to have to do it. And they may have to expand the court to 13 members.
Here with analysis on this, Newt Gingrich, Fox News political analyst, former Speaker of the House. Newt, so now Carville's like, we can't win apparently without DC and Puerto Rico and court packing, but he thinks they'll win the House, Senate, and the presidency. Your reaction to all this? Good to see you back.
Well, you know, James Carville made his reputation helping elect Bill Clinton in 1992 with a sign in the campaign office that said, "It's the economy, stupid." Well, guess what? If President Trump continues between the one big beautiful bill, cutting taxes, cutting regulations, the number of countries committed to investing in America, the number of sales deals around the world, if we end up with a great economy next summer, these people can go around and say anything they want to, but the American people are going to say, you know, I'd much prefer a Trump boom to the Democrats' gloom. And that's what we're getting. You listen to the Democrats, they're either rabid socialists like Mondami in New York or the new candidate for mayor in Minneapolis, or they're people who are totally negative. They have no positive ideas, no solutions. And the fact is, Trump survived. Trump won the election, actually got far more votes than Kamala Harris. The Republicans won the Senate. The Republicans won the House. That is what a democracy produces. And of course, like the Republicans in the early 1930s under Franklin Roosevelt, the Democrats are going off the deep end, getting more and more bitter and more isolated.
And that's pretty much the size of it. Breaking news: Donald Trump just signed a let me pull it up here. Let me pull it up here so I can read it. A military directs military to target foreign drug cartels. Says Trump signs Pentagon directive to begin using military force against Latin America drug cartels. That's interesting. What do you have to say about that? Didn't you say something about that, Mike, in the past? Haven't you said anything maybe about that? Also in the news, yesterday, Pam Bondi made this announcement, which may be related.
Today, the Department of Justice and State Department are announcing a historic $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. Maduro uses foreign terrorist organizations like TDA, Sinaloa, and Cartel of the Suns to bring deadly drugs and violence into our country. To date, the DEA has seized 30 tons of cocaine linked to Maduro and his associates, with nearly 7 tons linked to Maduro himself, which represents a primary source of income for the deadly cartels based in Venezuela and Mexico. Cocaine is often laced with fentanyl, resulting in the loss and destruction of countless American lives. The DOJ has seized over $700 million of Maduro-linked assets, including 2 private jets, 9 vehicles, and more. Yet Maduro's reign of terror continues. He is one of the largest narco traffickers in the world and a threat to our national security. Therefore, we've doubled his reward to $50 million. Under President Trump's leadership, Maduro will not escape justice, and he will be held accountable for his despicable crimes. If you have any information to bring this criminal to justice, call 1-202-307-4228 or go online.
Anybody want to claim the $50 million bucks? Who is he and why is he worth mentioning? This guy right here. He's the El Presidente of Venezuela. That's who he is. Who won in almost unanimous vote using Dominion voting machines. As a matter of fact, Dominion software was created to help Venezuela in their elections. And I mean, they didn't declare war on him, but I'd be worried. Donald Trump has a history of taking out people who threaten the United States. Unlike some of his predecessors, Donald Trump can sometimes he can be a little straightforward in his communication to enemies. I don't think I have it here. I think it was yesterday. Okay, no problem. We won't worry about that right now. So anyways, you guys have a great day. Maybe I do have it. Let me just check. I'm sure it was the Purple Heart stuff that he was at. Donald Trump declared yesterday Purple Heart Day. And I thought he said something. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. No, that's him signing it. I thought he said something in his speech before I end the show today. Let me just see if I can find it. It might have been yesterday, but I think it was today. Anyways, he was talking about, oh yeah, right here. He's giving a speech. He's talking about Purple Hearts, and he's talking about all the guys that got Purple Hearts from the roadside bombs over there in Iraq. You know, if I was that guy with a $50 million bounty on my head, I'd be worried about this.
You know who did the roadside bomb, right? Soleimani. Where is he? Where is Soleimani? He did. He was the father of the roadside bomb. They say 92% of the people who got either killed or badly hurt, it was Soleimani. He was the one that did it more than anybody else by far.
Where's Soleimani? Oh, yes. Soleimani, you know, what happened to him over there in Iraq, they dropped a smart bomb. They dropped this new smart bomb that doesn't see, they didn't want any collateral damage. They got this smart bomb. They can drop it from a drone or a plane, and it falls from the sky. And as it's falling, it'll track its target, like if it's moving in a car, and it has no explosives in it. It's just kinetic energy. But just before it hits the target, it like opens up like a Swiss Army knife. It has all these blades and goes. And you were just put in the blender. But there's more free Ginzu knives. That's right. They dice, they chop, they whip, they even Perrier. And they're not good for your health if you're against the United States. Anyways, that's what they did to him. And so if I'm that guy down there in Venezuela, I'd be concerned. Hey, it's Friday. You know what that means? Take a break this weekend. Turn the TV off. It's not good for you anyways. Television. Don't get their business. Go out, do what you do. Fishing, swimming, biking. Take your shoes off, just rub around the grass for a little bit. Whatever it is you do, go do that. I'll be back Monday. We'll talk about whatever it is that happens this weekend. You guys have a great day. Patriot Mike is out.